So if you are a South African, this news would be quite valuable to you. I'm sure it will apply to you, definitely. But if you are not a South African, if you live in another country in the world, there are some greater truths here that will be applicable to your economy as well, because the entire world's economy really run on the same cog of debt, right? It all starts with central banking, and it all starts at every single dollar bill, euro bill, Japanese yen, British pounds, or South African rand is created by debt. So when a new currency springs into the market, if new dollar bills are issued or new rand bills are issued, there is debt sitting at the back of it, and somebody has to pay back that debt. Right. So a couple of days ago, it was on the 1st of November, Moody's, who is the credit rating agency, one of the big credit rating agencies internationally, had downgraded the outlook for credit rating of South African government from stable to negative, right? That effectively means that they're placing the South African government and the South African economy on notice, saying that you guys have got certain plans, certain fiscal plans, certain budget plans in which you aim to turn around the country's economy, in which you aim to reduce the budget deficit. In other words, the amount that is being spent is larger than the amount of income, to reduce that deficit, to reduce the debt burden, and at the same time increase the GDP, or the gross domestic product. So if you don't implement those measures uh, positively over the next 12 to 18 months, at a maximum, then we will be forced to downgrade your bond status to junk. That means that countries that hold South African bonds, that is a debt letter where the government promises to pay back the debt to that holder of debt at a certain amount plus interest in the future, then that instrument will be downgraded as junk status, and people, investors, and countries will start to dump South African bonds in the market. That will reduce the market for South African rands, and effectively what's going to happen is that it will diminish or devalue the rand even further. And what happens to a devalued currency is that it increases the inflation. And inflation increase, as we all know, is not a good thing. Everything becomes more expensive, but people don't earn more money. And that plunges economies into real difficulties. Right. So the negative outlook signals in part that Moody's raising a concern that the government will not find the political capital to implement a range of measures it intends. So it says, look, you have all these nice stories that you want to do, but we are not sure you're going to manage that. So we are saying we've got a negative outlook. So government's plans, obviously, to address unemployment and low growth, but it's facing certain obstacles. And as we all know, there are zombie state-owned enterprises like South African Airways and Eskom, which continuously waste money and has to be bailed out by taxpayers' money. And if a company or a country or an SOE needs to borrow money, but it uses that money to fund capital growth, to increase the capacity by which it can serve people better, serve the market better, create more jobs, then that's one thing. But having to borrow money in order to just pay back debt, in order to just pay its bills, is not a sustainable model. And as a result, you will just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. And that is a problem in South Africa. So I don't want to spend too much time on this article, but you can read through it. Moody's changes outlook to the negative. They still haven't placed us on junk bond status, but if that happens, we have problems. Our debt to GDP ratio in South Africa 2 years ago was at 50.6%. Currently, it's at 61%. That is a huge increase in over just 2 years. And the expected ratio is 71%. That is for every rand of gross domestic product, that there will be 71 cents of debt. That is not sustainable. The government will continuously have to spend more of its tax income in just to pay back debt, as opposed to using that to fund growth and to create jobs, etc. in South Africa. So that is a big problem. So what I'm going to do is just show to you quickly here. Right. So if we look at the gold price in the world, and I've just got it open here on euros, as you can see there, gold price in euros over the past 30 years, right? And we've seen here that gold in euros have earlier this year reached its all-time high in the currency of euros. All right, if we look at the currency of US dollars, that is one of the few currencies in which gold has not yet reached an all-time high. But as we can see, it's fast approaching that $1,800 mark over the past year or so that it has reached after the previous financial crisis, the global financial crisis from 2008. If we look at a few random examples, let's look at Bahamian dollar. Let's see there. And okay, it's also looking roughly the same. Okay, sorry, there we go. It's just a bit slow. Okay, it's also moving towards its all-time high. If we look at, right, I'm just going to look at one more example. Here's a Swedish krona. I haven't even seen what that one looks like. As you can see, it has fast surpassed its all-time high in Swedish krona. That is gold. Gold, why? Because number one, gold is not backed by debt. So the ounce of gold that you might be invested in is not somebody else's debt at the same time. All right, so you don't have that, what they talk of counterparty risk. Gold cannot just be printed willy-nilly by governments in order to paint over the cracks of a foundation that's busy falling apart, as is the case with many economies in the world. They cannot just print gold. Gold is the scarcest of all the noble elements on the periodic table. It is not destroyed by rust. It exists for millennia, and it has existed for millennia, and it's always been seen as a store of value as well as a medium of exchange. South African rand, as you can see, we have also in the past few months gone past the previous all-time high, heading into very good territory. So what am I trying to say? If you are finding situations like you are doing now in South Africa and in many other countries all over the world, you want to hedge yourself against fiat currency. Because if we are heading into a period of hyper or even just high inflation in South Africa, the value of your rands will devalue, will decrease at a rapid pace. You'll be able to buy less goods and services with your money. You'll be able to go on less holidays, and you will have to work harder and save more and more. Now, the problem with saving is that in many parts of the world, governments and central banks are increasingly talking about negative interest rates. Why negative interest rate? Then what it effectively means is you get punished for depositing money in your bank account, for saving money for the future. Because if you deposit it in your bank account, there's a negative interest rate and your money will lose its value. So they are trying to look at measures, extreme measures to force people, to force economies to spend money in that way, to keep a zombie economy afloat. Force that spending so we can have money circulating through the economy and hopefully create an illusion of wealth in that way. That is clearly not sustainable. It's clearly not going to work. So if you have real assets like gold, like silver, I almost want to include property as well, although there's many bubbles in the property markets as well, but that is a real asset at least. And also cryptocurrencies. That is free market money. It's personal, private money. Nobody can confiscate it. Nobody can charge a negative interest rate on it if you have a cryptocurrency in your control. It is not just willy-nilly created, but there's proof of stake or proof of work behind it. Also costs money to create it. And the free market will start to use cryptocurrency more and more and more because it is not that prone to government intervention. Right, so at Carrot Bars, what we are doing is we are saving gold. And this is a very simple process. If you have your Carrot Bars account, you simply create your account by the link that you find at the bottom of this email. And you can create an account as either an affiliate or a customer. Of course, I would recommend creating an account as an affiliate. Perform your KYC, which you will find under your profile. There's my KYC. I'm not going into the details of that now. We have access to videos of that as well, which we can share with you. And you want to go onto product purchase. So what I do on a weekly basis, at least on a monthly basis, you can start to save gold. So I've selected product purchase, And then all that I do is I've selected buy cash gold. It switches me over to the Carrot Bars website, where I will be able to go and say, right, I want, there we go. There's my Carrot Pay cash gold. It's a banknote with 0.1 gram of 999.9 fine gold. It's going to cost me 51 euros. I'm going to add to cart, and I'm just going to go through the checking out process where I will be buying my gold. Right, so that's it from me for today, and thanks for joining me at The Wealth Effect, and I hope that this has been valuable to you. Please click subscribe to the channel. Please watch our regular content, and make sure to continuously educate yourself, because that is really what it is about. If you want to earn, if you want to continuously invest in your own education, if you want to achieve financial freedom, then that is the place where you need to start. Make sure you educate yourself. Don't just listen at what the big guys and the mainstream media and the banks tell you, because they have other agendas. Rather, educate yourself. Don't do what as they do, or don't do as they say, but do as they do. So thank you for joining me at The Wealth Effect, and I will see you again soon.